We know that perks have always been an important part of Fallout games and are one that many players enjoy because they allow for further depth and customization. In Fallout 76, Bethesda has taken it up a notch by really focusing the core character building around this particular aspect. And with that increase in emphasis comes a form of complexity and variation to perks that is unlike what we've seen in previous games. In this video, we aim to take a look at some of the best Fallout 70 perks there are and explain what they do and why we think they're so good. Obviously, what are the best for each player will depend heavily on their individual build, but many of the perks we've listed can be good for just about anyone. If you've been a bit overwhelmed by what you've seen in the beta, or you just like another take on the subject, then watch on. But before we do that, however, if you have any questions at all about perk cards, perk card packs, and such, check out the perks page on the wiki and get all your answers. Pack Rat. Pack Rat is particularly useful because you'll be collecting junk quite regularly in the game in order to scrap it for crafting materials. Since this one can all be done at crafting stations or workbenches, you'll have to return to a camp or a public workshop often. Taking this perk will allow you to stay out in the field longer without having to return frequently. Barbarian. This one should be high on the list for those planning for close-range combat. Melee, shotguns, and heavy guns all have modest range, and you'll need some damage resistance to be able to get close enough to strike. Since these weapon types all use strength perks, this one makes perfect sense no matter which you decide to go with. Martial Artist. This perk is a must-have for melee builds because you will need to attack as quickly as possible. The longer it takes you to down an enemy, the more likely they will unload rounds of bullets into you, so speed helps tremendously. The weight reduction is just an added bonus. Awareness. This perk is extremely useful to any build because it lets you locate and attack the weakest parts of an enemy, which means increased damage. It does cost 2 perk points though, making it one of the more expensive perks, but the increase in damage is totally worth it. Sniper. This perk is useful for any player using weapons with scopes as it will help to increase your accuracy, which in turn will increase the overall damage you deal. Being able to hit your target with bullets is paramount to any sort of damage buff. If you can't hit your target, then you deal exactly 0 damage. Penetrator. The reason this perk is so good is that oftentimes in combat you can see enemies, but part of them is blocked by cover. This reduces your chances of hitting that part drastically, but with a Penetrator perk this is no longer the case. As long as you can target an enemy in VATS, you can hit any part of them with ease. Homebody. Because it's not always easy to craft stim packs or other items that will replenish health, this perk is extremely handy. You'll need to visit your camp and workshops often in order to scrap junk and upgrade weapons or armor, making this a really good quality of life perk, pardon the pun. Adamantium Skeleton. This is an extremely important perk to just about any build as the crippling of one of your limbs can leave you in a bad spot. Whether you're ranged or melee, consider taking this one to prevent yourself from being ineffective when it matters most. Ironclad. Much like Barbarian, Ironclad is an excellent way to gain a large amount of damage resistance, making it useful for any build. Consider taking this one if you have no need for strength perks, but would like the resistance. In addition, if you're playing melee, doubling up on Barbarian and Ironclad can make you extremely hard to take down. Bodyguards. Again, damage resistance is a great thing to have, and this perk allows you to get a good chunk of it for just playing in a group. Since charisma perks are mostly about group play, this is a great choice if you know you'll be playing with friends or others often. Magnetic Personality. This might be the single best charisma perk because you essentially gain a net of 4 charisma perk points just for slotting the rank 2 version. This means you'll be able to take at least 2 other perks in some form, which is fantastic. If you're going to be playing with others often, take this one as soon as you can. Team Medic. Team Medic allows you to heal nearby teammates for up to 100% of the value of your stim pack when you use one. If you have a dedicated team or plan to play with others often, this is one perk you should all have. Or you could give all your stim packs to a friend and make him the designated medic of the group and free up perk points for the rest of you. First Aid. This is a great perk for just about anyone. You always want to get the most out of your healing items so that you don't consume any more than you have to. Consider pairing it with the Team Medic perk for best results when playing in a group. Scrapper. One of the biggest grinds in Fallout 76 is gathering junk and then scrapping it for components to mod your equipment. With this perk, you gain increased junk when looting, so that you don't have to do as much. If you're not a fan of grinding or you just like to get materials faster, then this is a great quality of life perk. Fix It Good. Maintaining your armor and power armor has always been an important, albeit annoying, part of recent Fallout games. With this perk, not only will you not have to do it as often, but you will also gain more protection from your equipment. It's really win-win. Action Boy and Action Girl. This is a great perk because it will allow you to use VATS even more often. Although AP generation in the game is not slow, if you're sort of build or player that relies heavily on VATS, you'll want to be sure to get this one. Evasive. You can probably see a trend by now, but this is the agility version of damage resistance. All players should have some damage resistance, and this is how you get it if you're going for agility-based perks. Pair it with other damage resistant perks for an all-around good time. Ammo Smith. Ammo is often hard to come by in Fallout games, and if you're like me, then you use it liberally and don't want to have to worry about how much of it you have left. By taking this perk, you won't have to craft ammo as often, and when you do, you'll make a lot more of it. If you're a spray and pray type player or using any sort of weapon which fires a lot of rounds in a hurry, like heavy weapons, be sure to get this one. Adrenaline. This perk rewards a very aggressive style of play because you must kill enemies quickly in succession to get the benefits of it. Make sure you take perks to complement, like ones that increase damage to speed up killing. But also be sure to take ones that reduce the damage you take, because you won't always have time to play it safe and keep this bonus up. Serendipity. This perk is great because it can often save you from dying in a pinch. Whether you're in the firefight of your life or you're running from a player who tried to ambush you, this perk can make the difference between living or dying. This is also a particularly great perk for melee builds which are more inclined to take damage. Starch Genes. This perk doesn't seem that great at first glance, but what it does is quite special. This perk will allow you to keep any mutation you have, and it still allows you to remove excess radiation with Radaway. Why would you want to do that, you ask? Because there are some great mutations that you absolutely might want to have. Check out the Fallout76 Wiki for a list of these and see what they do. Grim Reaper's Sprint. You use VATS a lot in Fallout, and Fallout 76 is no exception. With this perk, you have a chance to regain all action points when you kill a target in VATS. This is huge because it can allow you to chain kills rapidly with little effort. There are a lot more fantastic perks in Fallout 76, so stay tuned to see what sorts of builds we can come up with.